It's hour 2 of Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com, and that can mean only one thing. Rapid fire time, and my man Trevor Trowbridge is in to rapidly do it. How are you tonight, Trevor?
I'm good, man. Back-to-back shows
I
on
know.
IB Nation Sport. Look at us. Man, this has got to be good juju. I think if Notre Dame wins this weekend down in Fayetteville, I think we're going to have to do multiple shows a week. I'm a superstitious guy.
I think maybe so. I mean, mixing it up like this, maybe that's just the thing to get the whole thing kickstarted. Who knows?
Maybe.
I know.
Maybe.
I know. All right, we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight, as always, because it is rapid fire, so that means multiple topics for you. Fill in the blank. Jeremiyah Love's helmet came off a few times in the Texas A&M game. He was asked about that at his media session this week. It's blank that he said this about that, quote, people trying to rip it off. They're trying to do whatever they can to take me out of the game, trying to blow up my knees, all that. The helmet situation was taken care of.
Man, I mean, fill in the blank. That's Bush League. Come on, man. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's to be expected when you have a high-octane player like Jeremiyah Love. I'm sure that players like Jeremiah Smith and Ryan Williams can also attest that when players get the opportunity to take him down, they with a little bit more force than what they would somebody else. But I think that's a little Bush League trying to take somebody out of the game. That's me personally. But Sean, you know me, I'm an offensive guy.
No, I mean, it's very Bush League. I mean, like pulling the helmet off is one thing because you do have to go off the field for at least one play. I mean, that's like Bush League, but like going after a guy's knees. I mean, you would think that players would have a little bit more respect than that because it's literally like, it feels like the one universal thing that players respect is the injury thing. That's why you see the other team go down on a knee, when someone from the other team is injured. Like no one, they all know that they're laying their bodies on the line all the time. So to hear that guys are intentionally going after his knees, like that's an obvious line being crossed out there. Like you can respect his ability and all that kind of stuff and not want him in the game, but like to do that kind of stuff is just the lowest of low. And you would hope that maybe, you as a coach, you don't want to be seen as sort of a whiner or those kind of things, I think, but you do, there are obviously ways you can approach officials before the game and say, look, this kind of stuff has been going on. Can you keep an eye on this tonight?
Yeah, I think the most disheartening thing about it is I think it disrespects the game of football a little bit when you have other players. Because, look, everybody's fighting the same fight. Every premier college athlete is trying to make it up to the NFL to where they can live out their lifelong dream of playing in the league. And if somebody's going to try to take it upon themselves to ruin somebody else's for a game, I just can't. I can't get on board with that, man. I'm not there.
I can't either. That's just, again, it's not fathomable. I remember we had a guy in high school who was, kind of the stud, and he went on to play at a Division I school and all that. And like some of that stuff was going on with him at the bottom of piles. Guys are sitting there hanging on his legs and trying to twist his knees and do stuff like that. It's like that kind of stuff unfortunately happens at the bottom of piles all the time. But again, you would hope that as a player at that level, at the Power 4 level, everyone's got aspirations. Everyone's got career aspirations, long-term goals, and all that kind of stuff. You don't want someone doing that to you, so you would hope that you wouldn't be doing that to somebody else. But maybe that's just too pie in the sky thinking. I don't know.
You're too nice of a guy, Sean. Come on.
I guess so.
Jeez.
That's why we're sitting here talking about it. We never made it, right? It's only because of that. It's not because we weren't athletically challenged to,
Yeah. It's not because I'm 6 foot tall with shoes on and ran a 5.4 40. That's definitely not the reason. It's because our mentality wasn't there, Sean.
That's right. We just weren't mean enough. Double fill in the blank. If Texas A&M quarterback Marcel Reed is blank, Arkansas quarterback Taylen Green is blank.
Oh gosh. I might go a little bit different a direction with this. I don't know if I've ever done a double fill in the blank, Sean. This is fun.
First time for everything, baby.
I guess so, man. I guess so. I'll say this. If Marcel Reed is able to beat Notre Dame, then Taylen Green is also able to beat Notre Dame. I've seen some stuff, some very contradicting things about, Texas A&M's team overall supporting cast was better. I as a whole team, I would tend to believe that as well. Arkansas had to replace their top 5 pass catchers from a season ago. There's some people that still aren't fully bought into Taylen Green, but I listened to the first segment of this show, man. We talked a lot about Notre Dame's defense. And if Marcel Reed is able to throw for 360 passing yards while completing under 50% of his passes, Taylen Green is absolutely 'able to do the same thing at 6'6", 235.
That's exactly right. Like, if we thought Marcel Reed was a mobile dual threat quarterback, Taylen Green is that on steroids, to borrow, a sports cliche. He is another level. And, as I said, he reminds me a little bit of Riley Leonard, just with the long strides and the running ability, but he looks more comfortable in the pocket. If you just sit there and play this soft zone that Chris Ash has been playing through these first few games, Taylen Green has shown the ability to be able to sit there and complete the passes and pick you apart. You can't just let him stand back there and be comfortable. Between the two quarters, like Marcel Reed is good, but I think Taylen Green is a completely different level. This guy is like Marcel Reed really only hurt Notre Dame once or twice with his legs. Green has the ability to do that a half dozen times or more, and really he's shown that all it takes is one big explosive play, and it can be a game-changing play with his legs.
Yeah, man. I mean, he's the team's leading rusher. Now, Marcel Reed, I believe, was the team's leading rusher for A&M when they came to South Bend. But point still being, like, Notre Dame's going to have to find some way to speed him up on defense, whether that's speeding up his process, post-snap switches with your coverage, or getting some sort of a pass rush on him. But like you guys talked about before, got to stay disciplined in your pass rushing lanes or he's going to take off and hurt you with his legs.
That's exactly it. And that's always the bind that a true dual threat guy can put you in, but they've just got to find ways to make him uncomfortable, I think is the biggest thing. Carlos Garza in the YouTube chat asks, if we see Notre Dame give up more than 35 points this week, do you think we'll see a significant change? I mean, have we seen a significant change through 3 games?
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, Carlos, if I'm giving my realistic answer, I think it's no. I think it also depends on if they win. I mean, look, at the end of the day, it's one thing to say Notre Dame beat Purdue, a Power 4 team from the Big Ten with a new head coach and a completely new team by 26 points at home. That's one thing. On the other hand, you can also say they won by 26, but they scored 56. This is a defense that allowed 30 points at home to Purdue and 41 points at home. In 2 weeks at home, you've given up 71 points. That's not great, especially for the Notre Dame standard. So I think the outcome is also going to dictate what happens with this defense. If Notre Dame loses and their defense gives up more than 35 points, I think that Marcus Freeman and Pete Pavako would be at a spot where they might have to make a change, or else nothing is going to change moving forward.
Because you're 1-3 at that point. Look at this from the outside. You're 1-3 at that point. You're now eliminated from college football playoff contention. Yeah. You're not going to make it in with a 9-3 record, and it would be foolish to think you even really have a realistic chance of being 9-3 if you lose that game, because I think that virtually all but maybe 2 or 3 games are all going to be up for grabs at that point if you lose another game like this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Carlos, in short, my answer is regardless of win or lose, should there be? I think so. Will there be? I think it depends on the outcome of the game.
I do too, because you can rationalize, just like last week. At least we won the game. All we need is 1 point more to win the game, and that kind of stuff. So you can rationalize and write some of that stuff off. But you lose the game, and we're in a place that after last year, none of us thought we would be at this point this year. And there's no reason they should be at this point. But if you lose the game and you're giving up those kind of points, 35 plus points, Marcus Freeman has talked about, challenge everything. And at that point, there's a lot that he's got to challenge that he won't have challenged, I don't think, if you're in a spot where you lose the game and you give up 35 again, 35 plus again.
Agreed.
There was a question we talked in the first hour about the running backs. Justin was asking, is Jabron Payne behind Nolan James Jr.? He is. James has been listed as the number 3 running back the last couple of weeks. And I think part of that is due to the elbow injury that Aeneas Williams has, but he has been ahead of Jabron Payne on the depth chart all season long. So James has been up there. Like, I think you can probably consider Williams and James probably like co-3s maybe at this point, but Jabron Payne is number 5 on the chart behind all those guys right now.
Yeah, I think the elbow injury for Aeneas Williams plays a factor in that too. I agree.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Right. Notre Dame offensive coordinator Mike Denbrock was asked about the Wildcat package that he used against Texas A&M, and if Notre Dame might use a Kenny Minchey package for short yardage situations instead. He says they've talked about exploring something that would involve Minchey in the future. Are you in or out on a Kenny Minchey package versus the Wildcat package, Trevor?
Big picture, if it's going to help the team succeed and help Notre Dame win on Saturday, then yeah, I'm absolutely all for it. But at the end of the day, I go back to what I've talked about and stayed consistent with all offseason and so far through the first couple of weeks of the regular season is Kenny Minchey as a runner doesn't give you anything additional that Jeremiyah Love and Jadarian Price and Aeneas Williams or Nolan James or Jabron Payne don't give you. You know what I mean? So that's how I look at it. Now, if there's things that you want to do schematically, sure, but having Kenny Minchey come in and take direct snaps is not the Wildcat. That's just him taking a shotgun snap. Like that's just your backup quarterback coming in and taking a snap.
Right. You get a backup quarterback with a little bit more running ability compared to CJ Carr, and maybe you're not as worried about your backup quarterback taking a shot as you would be with CJ Carr, because like look at the Miami game and look how the last 2 games have played out. They've obviously not run Carr nearly, definitely designed stuff. I don't think we've seen anything designed. He has scrambled a couple of times. The one thing I like about a Minchey package versus the specific Wildcat package that we saw, and Denbrock did say the reason they put that in, that specific Wildcat package, was because of some looks that Mike Elko was giving against certain runs. So they thought that would give them something. And like the majority of time it did. Did it get stopped a couple times? Yeah, but the majority of the time, it did what it was supposed to. I just kind of like the idea of having a quarterback with some running ability and a Jeremiyah Love in the backfield, as opposed to just Jeremiyah Love doing the specific Wildcat stuff that we saw against A&M. Like, you're not just completely tipping, okay, here's what's coming. There's still at least some different options on the table if you have a quarterback back there.
No, I agree. I mean, it makes the defense account and has to add an extra hat in the box to account for a mobile quarterback. And I mean, strong case in point could be, look, I mean, Memphis had a lot of success running the football. Their mobile quarterback had a lot to do with that. So
right.
Would I be surprised if I saw something like that this week? No, I'm not.
Trevor, some feedback on this whole Wildcat versus Kenny Minchey stuff. So Josh says, we were talking about, do we like the Wildcat package? Would we prefer a Kenny Minchey package instead? Josh is saying that the Wildcat guy could pass out of it where they're expecting a run. My question there would be, do you really want to rely on Jeremiyah Love throwing the football? I know he said he could throw the football. I would just rather have a quarterback actually throwing the football than relying on a running back making some kind of throw.
Yeah, and Josh, I mean, if you're talking about Kenny Minchey passing out of the Wildcat, then I would just bring him in and have him throw passes. I mean, it's just one of those where it's just not needed.
Right. So, I mean, you're going to snap it to Jeremiyah Love and then pitch it or hand it to Kenny Minchey and have him throw a pass. That's the benefit of just having a Minchey package, where you do have more running threat. They have to respect that, but you've also got Love back there with him, and you have to respect okay, so Josh says he means Minchey. Well, then that's not really a Wildcat package then. It's just Kenny Minchey in a Kenny Minchey package.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm saying is, like, if between the two, I would rather see a Minchey package where you've got Minchey and Love out there together, where you still have to respect the pass and the potential run of the quarterback. Stymie says, I know it's a crazy thought, but hear me out. Instead of the Wildcat or a Kenny package, what if, and it's a big if, but what if CJ handed it off to Love or Price instead? I know it's crazy, but mull it over. Dripping with sarcasm, but thank you, Stymie. It's still a very good point.
Yeah, you know what, Stymie? I don't think you're too far off there, buddy. I mean, it's almost like when the defense brings more than a 4-man pressure, they get pressure. So,
yeah.
Crazy thoughts all around.
And again, I wonder how much this Wildcat comes up again, because as again, Mike Denbrock said at in his media session yesterday, they added this Wildcat look because of specific things they were seeing from Mike Elko's defense. So it sounds like it'll probably be dependent upon what they see from other defenses, and if they think that kind of thing would be the look that they need to run it. I would just hope that if they do run Wildcat again, it's not just straight put Jeremiyah Love back there, stagnant, everybody's just standing at the line of scrimmage. Add some motion to it. Jordan Faison, the threat of Jordan Faison doing a jet sweep, or whoever, Will Paulings, those kind of guys. Like, get the defense's eyes shifting and moving in different directions and things like that. I think that would be very beneficial to it.
We talked about it yesterday, Sean. I'd rather see a lot more 21 personnel with Love and Price on the field at the same time than I would a package with another backup or a running package for this guy. I'd rather just see more 21 personnel.
Yep, I would be down with that. I could agree with that for sure. So, Trevor, Shane Beamer is one of the first names that has popped up for the Virginia Tech opening because of the fact, obviously, he grew up in Blacksburg. Well, his dad, Frank, was the head coach there and put Virginia Tech on the map. My question would be, if you're Beamer, which is more attractive, staying at South Carolina in the SEC or going back to his roots in Blacksburg in the ACC at Virginia Tech?
I think this is one of those where you don't really have a wrong answer, depending on, like, if you're Shane Beamer, I think you can go either way, and I would understand the decision either way. In the Any Given Saturday documentary, he talked a lot about how, he wanted to make a name for himself at South Carolina. He didn't want to be Frank Beamer's son. He wanted to be Shane Beamer at South Carolina. And I respect that. I understand that completely. But also, you kind of talk about different level of competition in the ACC than in the SEC. And you do have that kind of lineage drawing you back to Virginia Tech. So when I look at that situation, Sean, I just think it's kind of a win-win regardless of which one he decides to go with.
Yeah, I understand your line of thinking. I look at this as like Shane Beamer has already found out at South Carolina very quickly this year that sustaining success at a mid-tier SEC, mid to lower tier SEC program is very hard. They've already lost twice. They got thumped by Vanderbilt, and they also lost to Missouri in back-to-back weeks. So it's like college football playoff, that's out of the question now unless you run the table the rest of the way. And, so like the line of thinking that you're saying, I can get behind that, just staying your own man, not going back to that. But at the same time, you would be sort of seen as, the prince returning, home and all that kind of thing. And you're at a place like Virginia Tech in the ACC where, let's face it, I think that there's a lot more ceiling year in and year out at a place like Virginia Tech in the ACC as opposed to South Carolina in the SEC. So I would lean a little bit more toward the Virginia Tech, even though again there are its own challenges there because of where you're located. It's a remote spot. It's not a really big town, so there are things that are going to come with that as well. But I mean, neither one of them is the high ceiling destination, I guess.
No, I think that's totally fair. I mean, in the ACC, you have to look. Now would be the prime time to get a team together in the ACC with Clemson falling off the way that they have. I mean, that's not a bad idea. I mean, you got to ask yourself something. What do you think is more likely? Georgia sustained success in the SEC, or Miami runs the table and wins their first ACC championship ever? Like, you know what I mean? And then continuously does that. So, no, that's a fair point. It's a very fair point.
So there are several Big Ten games this season, like Michigan State at USC last weekend that kicked off at 11 p.m. Eastern time. This was in Los Angeles where it's 8 o'clock, but it's 11 p.m. Eastern time when they're kicking off. Other recent games like Boston College at Stanford and Minnesota at Cal kicked off at 10:30 p.m. Eastern time. So, Trevor, are these late kick times fair or foul for the road teams in these equations?
Oh, good. I mean, it's foul. I mean, Sean, it's almost like, and hear me out here, it's almost like when you try to form super conferences and you add in a team that is multiple time zones away, somebody's going to be inconvenienced. Isn't that wild? Yeah. No, that's terrible. I mean, now, mind you, I was still up on Saturday. We were still doing the post-game show Saturday at 11 p.m.
That's true. You guys were still kicking it strong at that point.
We were just getting started, baby. I mean, we were getting kicked off. But no, man, I mean, I hate it. I hate the fact that they're that late.
I mean, now remember, not all of these are conference games. Like Minnesota at Cal, that's a non-conference game, but it's 10:30 p.m. Boston College at Stanford. You're literally talking about as far as you can go on the East Coast to the West Coast, BC and Stanford. And I heard the guy who does the Boston College play-by-play, I heard him the week at like a couple days later. They got home at 9 a.m. in Boston after playing at Stanford, 10:30 p.m. on the Eastern time. They got home at 9 a.m. Sunday. Are you telling me that that's good for players? Like, at the very least, if you're going to do that, you could do it Friday night where you've got a little bit more cushion, so you give these players a little bit more time to recover. I get ESPN is, it's basically to them, it's the E in ESPN. It's the entertainment part. They're putting on a show. It is programming for the masses. But like Michigan State at USC at 11 p.m. Again, it's middle of the country, so it's not quite as far as BC, but they probably, depending on what their charter was like, they probably didn't get home a whole lot earlier than 9 a.m., maybe 6 or 7 a.m., something like that. You can't tell me, and I get the sarcasm that you're talking about, and I completely agree with it. It is obviously not good, but if you're going to have these late night games, at least try to make it so that the teams involved are separated maybe by one time zone instead of 3 time zones,
Yeah, I think that would be the smart move. I mean, look, I hear you about the entertainment aspect, but look, you got to make sure that at least more than 50% of the country is going to be able to tune in and watch it live if we're going to consider it, entertainment. Because, I mean, at the end of the day, look, one of the benefits, Notre Dame travels out and they've played teams all across the country before in prime time for, when they go out and face USC at night in the Coliseum. But that's 5 p.m. their time. It's 8 p.m. our time, so I understand that. But 11 p.m. Eastern time, that's late, man. That is late.
Stymie said or is it, if I can get it in there, USC played at 9 a.m. at Purdue, right? I don't think so. I think that was a noon game. I think that was maybe supposed to be a noon game. It was 9 a.m.
Well, I think he's saying like 9 a.m.
9 a.m. local time.
Yeah.
Well, there's not much you can do. Like the time zone that you're in, like the NFL is playing these games in Europe. And even when some of these college teams obviously go to England or Ireland or whatever, like the Pacific time zone, like you're getting up at 6, 7 a.m. to watch those games. 9 a.m. I would still rather have 9 a.m. than 11 p.m. because, the other part of this is your fan bases that are on the East Coast, like Boston College playing at Stanford at 10:30 p.m., for example. So you're asking the Boston market, anyone interested in BC football, I realize it's not a huge, interest in BC football, but you're asking them to stay up until 1 a.m. or 2 a.m., by the time it's all said and done. Michigan State in the Eastern time zone, like same thing. You're asking them to stay up until 2 a.m. by the time this game is over with. Ditto with Minnesota, even though that's Central time zone, so it's only 1 hour difference. But yeah, it is just completely unfair to everybody involved, from the players who have to make this travel, as well as the fan bases who are trying to follow their teams with these extremely late kickoffs.
Yeah, it's extremely late. But I'll tell you what, if I lived out on the West Coast, it wouldn't be such a bad thing waking up at 9 a.m. to just college football on the TV.
I know.
Though. That'd be
I lived
sweet.
on the West Coast for a year, and it's awesome to be able to roll out of bed after a night of, whatever you're doing out there. And it's like Saturday, Sunday morning, the games are already on TV by the time you kick out of bed. Like West Coast is perfect. But, again, it's like this is like Michigan State USC. It's perfect background stuff at a sports bar on the East Coast or in the Midwest. But Michigan State players, DC players shouldn't have to suffer, for everyone else's entertainment by getting home at 7, 8, 9 a.m. after you play a game like that, and then have to get yourselves together and then get up and go to class on Monday and roll into practice the next week. But as you said, as you started off with, it's almost like having teams in the same conference on opposite coasts is not a good idea. Who would have thought?
Crazy.
Topic. Fill in the blank, Trevor. The player, coach, or team you feel most differently about right now compared to the start of the season, which feels like a year ago at this point, is blank.
Notre Dame aside, how do you not say Kansas State? I mean, that is a team that I just did not see coming. I mean, the teams in conversation, Kansas State, Clemson, Notre Dame, but I got to go with Kansas State. They were one of the teams in the preseason that I projected them to play for the Big 12 championship. I mean, you go and you lose a close game to Iowa State in Ireland, but you only lose by 3 points. You come back home to North Dakota to play North Dakota, not even North Dakota State, North Dakota. Last-second game-winning drive to win 38-35. And you lose back-to-back games against Army and Arizona, and Army lost to Tarleton State.
Man.
Yeah, man. Wow.
I mean, obviously they were a ranked team, Kansas State was, and one of the favorites to win the Big 12 this year. I think that's a really good answer. There are a lot of good answers. Like Stymie says Florida State. We didn't, as he said, didn't know what to expect, and they've obviously played pretty well. Looking forward to seeing what happens when they face Miami here on down the line a little bit, as Miami ends up playing both of the other big state of Florida teams. Clemson didn't see them going 1-3. Notre Dame is a good answer. Like Anthony says, Notre Dame, specifically the defense. Like the big question regarding Notre Dame is what has been the issue. How is Chris Ash going to call a game compared to how Golden called a game? We didn't know that it was going to be this diabolically opposed, like the Al Golden philosophy compared to the Chris Ash philosophy. But look at what you've got. I'm going to go a little bit different route, though, and Irish for Life 99 is singing my tune. Well, he says if Indiana and Notre Dame were to play today, who are you picking? I would probably pick Indiana the way they're playing right now. Now, they still have a lot to prove. Got to go to Iowa, show they can back it up. That was a big game for them last week. They've still got Oregon. They've still got Penn State. So, like the bigger fish are still out there. But I tell you what, I expected some drop-off for Curt Cignetti after what he was able to whip together in year one coming into year two. But there is a complete case that they are even better in year two than they were in year one. I mean, if last week's game against Illinois means anything, they surely are. And he was not afraid to pile it up because I think that he wanted to make a statement because he was a little ticked off that he, had just made the college football playoff and he was compared to Illinois. Like, who the heck is Illinois? What the heck have they ever done? He probably said it in a lot different words behind closed doors. But as of right now, I'm more impressed with Curt Cignetti than I thought I was going to be at this point in the season.
Yeah, I am as well. Indiana's a really good answer for that one. I mean, honestly, I know they're fresh off of a national championship, but I'm also impressed at how quickly Ohio State was able to bounce back from all the attrition that they had.
Yeah.
Both coordinators, 8 starters on defense, 2 new offensive tackles, brand new running back room. You lose Emeka Egbuka and Will Howard. It's impressive, man. It's impressive.
I mean, Joe has the answer. Illinois was completely overrated. And what's crazy is they got so overrated because they beat South Carolina in a bowl game last year. And everyone was like, ooh, South Carolina, just outside the college football playoff picture and all that. And look at where South Carolina is this year. Like, that's what vaulted Illinois' national kind of thought was the fact they finished off the season. And I mean, look, it was a lower tier bowl, and who exactly was playing in that game, I don't know, but I bought into the Illinois hype. Not like overboard like a lot of people, but like a lot of people, I did think that last week's game against Indiana was going to be a lot more competitive than what it turned out to be.
Yeah.
Colts quarterback Daniel Jones, of course, was known as Danny Dimes when he was the New York Giants quarterback, but they're calling him Indiana Jones now that he's leading the surprising 3-0 Colts. Which nickname, Trevor, do you like better?
Oh, it's Indiana Jones. For sure. One, I love Indiana Jones. It's one of my favorite movie franchises growing up. But two, I live in Indianapolis, man, and I'd be lying if I said that I was a Colts fan, but it's cool when the teams in the city do well. I mean, the Fever got Caitlin Clark, and then obviously we know the run the Pacers have been on the last 2 years. It makes the city fun, and I was kind of waiting for the Colts to catch back up, and so far, Indiana Jones is kind of doing his thing, man.
I do too. Like, get him a whip. Do they have any posters of him around town yet? Like with one of those hats that Indy used to wear.
Not yet, but I mean, if they go on the road, I think they're on the road this week to play the Rams. I mean, if they go out to LA and beat the Rams and SoFi, come back here, I mean, I might paint one myself. Who knows? I mean, it was like I had never even thought of it, like coming out of train, like Daniel Jones, the fact that he's in Indianapolis and all that kind of stuff. I don't know who came up with it, but it's the perfect nickname for him, and especially because I think they were calling him that before they even won their third game, and kind of where this thing is right now, it's snowballing. If they can keep it up, you're going to hear more Indiana Jones. I think it's kind of fun. I think it's a lot better nickname than Danny Dimes, honestly. Yep, I do too. I'm big fan of the Indiana Jones nickname. That's for sure.
Yeah. I mean, do they literally is everyone down there just calling him Indiana Jones? I've forgotten about the fact that you were in the heart of Indianapolis in this.
Oh yeah. I mean, Lucas Oil is, 10 minutes away from the apartment. So, but yeah, okay. I mean, that nickname is alive and well in all the group chats that I'm in, but no, around the city, people call him Indiana Jones, and yeah, it's awesome.
Okay, I want to finish with this. This is a question I've kind of had on the docket. It's kept getting bumped a little bit. This whole Tom Brady controversy. He's obviously Fox's #1 analyst. He's a minority owner of the Las Vegas Raiders. There's been, he was sitting in the coach's booth wearing a headset a couple weeks back. Do you think it's time for the NFL to make Brady pick a lane and decide what he's going to do?
I think back to, again, I'll bring up the Indianapolis Colts. Jim Irsay's daughter took over. She's on the sideline. She's wearing headsets. She's around the team all the time. She is not then also going on CBS at 1 p.m.
exactly
to commentate on the games. Now,
doing other people's games, right?
Yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, when you're Tom Brady and we're talking about Tom Brady and NFL in the same sentence, they kind of just let him do whatever he wants at this point, I would imagine. But me personally, I think that he should pick a lane, either be a broadcaster or be disinvested in the organization.
It feels like it to me as well. And I realize Fox isn't going to can him. They're giving him a lot of money. They like to put, it's like from their perspective, I think any publicity is good publicity. I don't know, when you listen to coaches, I don't know how much he's actually influencing the game, but it just feels like if you're going to be one of the faces of Fox Sports, you shouldn't be sitting in a coach's booth during a nationally broadcast, televised game, wearing a headset, hanging out with the coaches. It just feels like, okay, if you want, they're obviously fine with him being an owner. That's fine, but you don't need to. It's just a bad look, I think, because it says, it basically tells everybody your interests are divided, and I don't think that that's what anybody needs. So I don't know if it's at the point where the NFL needs to, make a move, but it's like, hey, Tom, could you just stay out of the coach's booth, keep the headsets off? I think that would be fine.
Yeah, I think so too. And luckily, I don't really know how many, 4:25 p.m. kickoff games on Fox the Raiders are going to have. So maybe they're just waiting until those paths diverge. But
they play the Bears though this week. So
that's true on the 4:25 slot. Okay, well, there we go.
Right. Trevor, enjoyed it as always. I will talk to you again soon, my friend.
Yep, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on.
All right, absolutely. Appreciate all the questions in the mailbag portion of the show tonight. We've got more, of course, coming up tomorrow. Marcus Freeman's noon Zoom. We'll have some of his comments on the show tomorrow. And, of course, we've got more coming up the rest of the week. Budweiser's Weekday Sports Beat with IrishBreakdown.com.